and we'll just do some subtracting. Okay, so we've got $3.74 subtract $1.39. Okay, so we've got to line up the cents, the tens, and the dollars, or the cents, the dimes, and the dollars, basically, right? So 4 take away 9 isn't going to work. So I've got to borrow from this guy. So this 70 cent here becomes 60 cent, and I'll put a 10 over here to add to that 4 to make 14, right? So now 14, so this is 14. 14 subtract 9 is 5, okay? And now I use 6. 6 subtract 3 is 3, right? And that's all done and dusted, so I can just go 3 minus 1 is 2. So the answer is $2.35, right? So press pause and do this one yourself. Or you can race me, try and do it faster than me, whichever you like. Okay, just try it though, try it by yourself, see if you can get it. So it's $15.34. So we've got the cents, the dimes, the dollars, the tens, I guess you could call this. Anyway, so 14 subtract 5 isn't going to work, so I have to borrow from here. So that 30 cent becomes 20 cent and 1. A dime goes over to here to make 14. So instead of 34, I actually have 20 plus 14. Does that make sense? 20 and 14 is 34, isn't it? So I've split it into the 20. See, this is in the tens column, or the tenths column, the dimes. So 20 cent and 14, right? So 14 subtract 5 is 9. 2 subtract 7 isn't going to work. So I've got to borrow from here. So he's going to become a 4, and I'm going to bring a 10 from here to over here, right? So now 12 subtract 7 is 5. Put down the decimal point underneath it. Decimal points always line up underneath each other. 4 subtract 8 isn't going to work, so I've got to borrow from here. That becomes 0 and the 1 comes over, so this is now 14. 0 and 14, so 14 subtract 8 is 6, right? So $6.59. Okay. Okay, so see what happens when you do this. 7.2 subtract 1.38. How are you going to line this guy up? Okay, let's see. 7.2 and then 1.38. Trick is make sure the decimal points are underneath each other, right? We're going to subtract now, right? And once again, yeah, we should really put a 0 in there in that empty space. See that empty space? Let's stick a 0 there, okay? Stick in a 0, right? Okay, so now when we subtract, 0 subtract 8 isn't going to work. Do we have to borrow? Yep. So borrow from the 2, that becomes a 1, and now a 10 comes over here. So this is basically a 10, and you bring a 10 over here. 10 and 10 is 20. So bring a 10 over here. Now this because the 10 and 0 was just 10. So now 10 subtract 8 is 2. And now we try to do 1 subtract 3. That's not going to work. Got to borrow from the 7. It's going to become a 6. And you're going to bring a 1 over here or a 10 over here. 11 subtract 3. 8. Put the decimal point underneath that. 6 subtract 1. 5. Okay. Okay, so by all means press pause and try this guy. 23.04 minus 5.99. Okay, now we'll try it. 23.04 minus 5. Decimal points underneath each other, right? Decimal points underneath each other. Like that. Right? So we'll try 4 subtract 9. It's not going to work, is it? So you got to borrow from here, but there's nothing to borrow from there. Okay, so go back over to here. Okay, you got to borrow 2. The borrow from here to bring it over to here to make that a 10. Okay. And now this 10, that's going to become a 9, right? Because you got to bring a 1 from here again to come over to here to make this 14, right? So 14 subtract 9 is 5, and then we have 9 subtract 9 is 0, right? Decimal point. 2 subtract 5 isn't going to work, so I've got to borrow from this 2, that becomes a 1, and put a 1 over here. So now we have 12. 12 subtract 5 is 7, and then we just have this 1 here. Okay, so 17.05, and we'll check that. Just going to add the 5.99 back again, see if that works out. 5 and 9, 14, carry the 1. 1 and 9 is 10, carry the 1. 6 and 7 is 13, carry the 1. 1 and 1 is 2, 23.04. Yep, so that worked out, right? Okay, so some more practice with that type of thing. What are you going to do with 45 subtract 0.087? And by all means, you can race me and try and do these faster than I can. No problem. Or you can press pause and try them, or whichever. So, but in this one, like, press pause and see if you can figure this one out. At least write it out. Press pause and see. How are you going to write this one out? You're going to... Okay, we're going to go 45 needs to subtract 0.087, because the decimal point for 45 is right here. 45 is the same thing as 45 and no cents. $45 is like 45.00, isn't it? Of course, you could put another 0 over here as well, wouldn't matter. 45 and 0 thousandths, right? Now we're going to subtract. Okay, so we've got to go 0 subtract 7. That's not going to work. So I've got to borrow from here. Well, I can't borrow from there. Got to borrow from here. Can't borrow from there. Got to borrow from here then, right? So that 5 becomes a 4, and one of them comes over to here. That becomes a 10. Okay, but but I have to borrow over to here. So I'll turn that back into a 9 and put 1 over here. But now I still have to borrow for over here, so I'll turn that guy into a 9 and put 1 over here. There we go. And now we can do it. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 8 is 1. 9 minus 0 is 9. 4 minus 0 is 4, and then we have 4. Okay? So that seems that seems like it's correct, isn't it? $45 subtract 0.087 cents would be, you know, $44.91 cents and 0.03 of a cent, let's say, right? Okay, so let's try this. 9 minus 0.145. Press pause and see if you can do this by yourself. Okay, now I'll try it slowly so you can keep up, and by all means try and race me. Do it faster than me if you can. So you've got 9, and then this is 0.145 we're subtracting, but I must turn the 9 into 0.000, right? So when I try to subtract 0, subtract 5, that's not going to work, and I can't borrow from here, and I can't borrow from here because that's not going to work yet. Okay, because that's a 0 anyway. So I've got to start borrowing from here. That becomes an 8, and I bring 1 over here. That becomes a 10. But I've got to borrow over to all the way to here. So I'll turn that into a 9 and put 1 over here. But I need to borrow over to here, so I'll turn that into a 9 and put 1 over here. Right? Put one of those units over here. So now the 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 4 is 5. 9 minus 1 is 8. 8 minus 0 is 8. So $8.855, right? So press pause and try this one. 30.03 minus 3.3. Okay, now I'll try it. So you got 30.03, and then you got 3.3, and we're subtracting. And you know what? I'm going to put a 0 here for a placeholder. Right? So 3 minus 0 just gives 3. 0 minus 3 isn't going to work. This 0 minus 3 isn't going to work, so I've got to cross this off, turn them into a 2, take one of those units over here, so this is 10. But I still have to borrow over to here, so I'm going to turn that guy into a 9, take one of these units and put it here, right? So 10 minus 3, 7. Decimal point goes down here. 9 minus 3, 6. 2 minus nothing, 2. 2673, right? So press pause again if you like and try this one yourself, see what you come up with. Then I'll go over it with you. But I mean, it's most important that you have to try these, because otherwise it's just, you know, worry that you can't do the homework. Well, you need to try this stuff on the video where you actually have a chance to catch your mistakes and learn. So please, you know, try this yourself, press pause and try it, then I'll do it slowly, okay? Okay, so I'm going to do it slowly now, and I hope you've tried it already. 1 minus 4 isn't going to work. I've got to borrow from here, turn that into a 2. This becomes 11. So 11 minus 4 is 7. Okay. So 2 minus 8 isn't going to work. Got to borrow from here. That becomes a 1. Bring another 1 over here. Right. 12 minus 8 is 4. Right. Now 1 minus 6 isn't going to work. Got to borrow from here. That becomes a 4. Got to bring a 1 over here. 11 minus 6 is 5. Decimal points underneath each other, like that. 4 minus 6 isn't going to work. Got to borrow from this 4, it becomes a 3, right? 3, and the 1 comes over here to make that 14. 14 minus 6 is 8. 3 minus 7 isn't going to work. Got to borrow from the 5, that becomes a 4, and a 1 comes over here. A 10 comes over here for this unit, so 13 minus 7 is 6, right? And 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay, so I'm just quickly going to check that, and you can always check your answers, especially on the test if you need to. Just add that back up again and see if it works out. Just going to quickly add that together, see if it works out. Let's see, 7 and 4 is 13, carry the 1. 9 and that's 13, carry the 1. And then we have 12, carry the 1. Decimal point down here. 15, carry the 1. 14, carry 1, 5. So 5, 4, 5. Oh, my mistake. 7 and 4 was 11. Silly me. 7 and 4 is 11. Carry the 1, right? There we go, not 13. So yeah, 545.231. 545.231. Yep.